Most dads have zero wiggle room in their schedule, not because they're productive, but it's because they're distracted. I was there, overwhelmed, stretched thin, and staring down another maxed out week that I had no control over. In this video, I'll show you exactly how I reclaimed 10 plus hours back in my week and how you can do the same without sacrificing your work, your family, or your sanity. So the thing about distractions is they're everywhere. It's becoming the norm just to pick up your phone in any in-between moments, on the train, bus, I don't know, whatever you do. Always be available, or even just endlessly watching YouTube, Netflix, all those sorts of things. From like funny cat videos to reels of Donald Trump being an idiot to messages from your mum. Yep, she's definitely the person that messaged me the most too. And they're all designed to be addictive. Social media platforms spend tons of money on psychologists to keep you on their platform. Of course, they wouldn't make money if they didn't. So we have to understand that we're fighting a battle here. We're not going to be able to just use willpower to overcome this. Willpower will work, but only in conjunction with the 3-step system I'm going to go through. And that's the same for indulging in more productivity hacks or apps or more time management tools. They're exciting, they're new, they give us a hit of dopamine, but we know that we'll just end up back in the exact same spot as we were before we started these things. But here's the reality you need to know. Every time that you break focus, let's say you're deep into work and then you see a notification, so you stop to check it, and before you know it, you're deep in the scroll, or you just checked your messages or emails or Slack. It's broken your flow, and it can take up to 15 minutes to get back into the same focus we had before the distraction. Now, let's think about how many times you do that every single hour. Well, the maths is killing me, but you get my point. This means it's quite literally taking you longer to do tasks than it should, obviously. And as I said, the worst thing about this is it's actually normal nowadays just to be on our phones all the time and do that sort of thing. So with tasks taking longer, and may I add, the quality of work within that, because you're constantly flicking between the tasks, is going to be worse. You're probably going to procrastinate as well on the harder stuff, because ultimately what it's draining our energy resources, brain resources, by constantly flicking between them. It's obviously going to also, in a physical manner, take up more of your schedule, right? So to stop distractions and gain back 10 hours in your week, you need these 3 steps. And by the way, if you're serious about change and you want to skip all the fluff here, click the link below and stop watching this video. I'm jumping on a free one-to-one call with just a handful of dads where I'll audit your schedule and show you how to reclaim 10 plus hours back, like completely tailored to you. So just click the link below to book that. Anyway, here's the 3-step system if you just want to grab the system and go do it yourself. So number 1, schedule. And before you click off the video, this isn't another time management video, okay? Look, anyone can do that. Anyone can put blocks in their diary for time management. And inputting your stuff into your diary is important. Of course, we should be doing that already. But if you're not, sort yourself out. Only joking, but definitely do it. Like, it is important, but it's not the most important thing. And it really is just there that should be kind of done already. This is about the right schedule. And again, not a time management tool. But what we need to do first is audit our current week. Be brutal and honest with yourself about how much time you actually have. Because often I think what we're doing is we're just thinking, even though we've put it into schedules, to-do lists and all this sort of thing, Notion maybe, or whatever, Slack, whatever, we think that we don't have time. And often once we audit it, we can see the white spaces where the time is left in our diary, right? And we actually have free. And if we're honest about it, how much are we distracted? How much are we doing this based on distractions and things taking longer than they should, right? So from that audit, you then need to build your ideal week. So do this based on the priorities of your life. Schedule those in first before anything else. And also do it based on your values. This gives alignment in your life and makes sure that you're living with purpose. Remember at the start I said I was staring down another maxed week, where I was overwhelmed and it was stressing me out a bit. I say a bit, it was quite a lot. My weeks are still maxed now, but I live according to my priorities and values, which means it no longer feels that way. It no longer feels overwhelming and stressful because yes, my weeks are maxed out, but most of the time I enjoy it, most of the time I'm high energy, most of the time I'm high focus, and that's what matters to me. And figure out where you are most distracted right now and protect those times, okay? Almost like alarm bells, we need to make sure that they're kind of, all right, this is when I can be most distracted, so this is when I need to focus in. This scheduling is where we can get rid of some bigger distractions, the kind of more nuanced ones, the kind of swatch, going between phones is a little bit later on, but this can get rid of help that procrastination and all that sort of stuff. So step number 2 is state. This is where we have to manage our energy and daily state. Far too often dads are burning the candle at both ends. So sort and schedule, like I said in step 1, should help towards this, of course. But effectively in this step, we need to start doing more things that energize us. Most people have the wrong idea around rest. They think it's TV or holidays or scrolling through our phones. In actual fact, that's draining our energy and not giving us rest. Rest is really doing energy-giving activities, enjoyable things that leave us feeling more energized and better afterwards. So just an example of one of mine is I love getting to the mountains, hiking, running, and especially when I go with my mates. I love it, and although afterwards I feel physically tired, I feel a bit battered and bruised, I feel energized for days after. I've got so much more mental clarity and focus. These energy-giving activities come in all shapes and sizes, and are of course unique to you. But if we can do these things more regularly, then you'll have better energy and a better daily state. So there is one catch here though, and it can make you feel guilty for doing these things for yourself instead of, spending time with your family or looking after them or whatever. And what I tell myself is that I am my own greatest asset. If I'm not operating at full capacity, then I'm not as good in my business. So my clients don't get a good enough version of me. Maybe that'll end up in money loss or, career stagnation. And that's the same for home too. I want to be the best dad and husband I can be, not the snappy and irritable tired man I would be if I didn't do this. Remember, you can book a call with me for free to go through all of this and your personal schedule. I'll audit it and your personal situation. Just hit the link below. But anyway, number 3, systems. Install daily and weekly rhythms that help with increasing focus. So we have to create focus in our lives, not just take supplements every day and expect it to always be there, or just use the strategy of hope. I hope I have a good night's sleep and I'll feel better in the morning. I hope I will be focused today. Or maybe it's just a case of right now I'm focused one day, the next day I'm not, because I've been really good the previous day. So we do this by installing systems that help us wake up with clarity and set us up for the day. Not the influencer get up at 4 a.m. routines. That's not sustainable with kids and a normal life for that matter, right? It's about doing what will maximize your focus, rituals that will keep you on task. One of the big things here is eliminating phone, email, and Slack distractions. We do that, of course, by setting boundaries with all of these things, but this won't just work alone. It's powerful, but won't work alone. The other 2 steps we've already implemented will hugely help. So when our schedule matches our priorities and values in life, we're naturally going to be more excited about living that out and will be naturally less distracted. When we have more energy, it's so much easier to say no to distractions. We often only need these distractions in the first place because we're not feeling 100%. Lastly, in this first step, it's about doing hard things. If we can do hard things daily, this builds inner trust. Inner trust that we can do the work. We can be disciplined and we don't need distractions to run our life. Also, doing hard stuff delays dopamine release and we'll feel that dopamine boost afterwards. This is accessing dopamine in the right way. So when we indulge in distractions, we're looking for those hits of dopamine, which means it'll actually create worse feelings after. So think about it like this. This is a little silly example. There's an amazing looking donut in the office with your name on it. You eventually cave in and you eat it. You feel great at the time, like it tastes incredible, like it's so good. But not long after, you have the feelings of regret and guilt for eating it. And that's what's going on after dopamine hits, right? It kind of brings about this pain and this regret and this guilt or this low mood and lethargic kind of attitude. We need to understand that delaying that will make us feel better long term. So that's a 3-step system I teach inside the High Performing Dad, so they can reclaim 10 hours and eliminate distractions so they can step into their full potential. And one of the things about it and about the High Performing Dad is they go after success in work without sacrificing their family, their health, or their relationships. So if you got to the end of this and still want to know more, hit the link below, book a call with me where I can help you implement some of what we just talked about, and I will even personally audit your schedule